The alien begged to save her baby. Only one human dared to help her. The dying ship, the merchant vessel. Stellar Wanderer shuddered as another plasma blast tore through its starboard hull. Captain Dmitry Kozlov gripped the command console, his own, knuckles white against the metal as emergency klaxons wailed throughout the ship. 3 Vorthan raider vessels circled like vultures, their sleek predatory forms cutting through the void with deadly precision. Hull breach on levels 4 through 6, reported Navigation Officer Yuki Tanaka, her normally steady voice cracking under pressure. We're venting atmosphere fast and the artificial gravity is failing in sections. Kozlov's weathered face remained stoic despite the chaos. 28 years hauling cargo between frontier colonies had taught him that panic killed crews faster than pirates. But this wasn't a typical raid. The Vorthans weren't demanding surrender or cargo. They were systematically destroying the ship. Emergency evacuation protocols, he ordered. All hands to escape pods. We've got maybe 15 minutes before structural collapse. Deep in the ship's lower cargo hold, Zara Mikhailova pressed her back against the cold bulkhead as another explosion sent tremors through the deck plating. The 26-year-old xenobiologist had been returning from a research expedition when the attack began. Now she found herself trapped in a maze of shipping containers and twisted metal. But she wasn't alone. In the corner of the cargo bay, huddled behind a stack of supply crates, was something that made Zara's breath catch. A Catherian female. Her, iridescent blue-green skin pale with fear, clutched a small bundle to her chest. The alien's large, multifaceted eyes, like living jewels, reflected the emergency lighting as they darted between Zara and the sealed cargo doors. Catherians were rare in this sector, their crystalline homeworld light years away from the established trade routes. They were known throughout the galaxy as master artisans and healers, their empathic abilities making them invaluable mediators. They were also notoriously fragile, their insectoid physiology poorly adapted to the harsh realities of space travel. The cat bundle in the female's arms moved, emitting a soft chittering sound that was unmistakably infantile. A baby. Zara's heart clenched as she realized what she was witnessing. A mother trying to protect her child as their world collapsed around them. Please, the Catherian said, her voice melodic despite the terror. She spoke in accented standard, the words barely above a whisper. My child, she is dying. The ship's system, they emit frequencies that poison her developing neural pathways. She needs, the alien's voice broke, and she dissolved into what could only be described as weeping, though no tears fell from her compound eyes. Zara crawled closer, her scientific training overriding her fear. She'd studied Catherian physiology during her xenobiology courses. Their young were incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic radiation during their first few months of life. The ship's damaged systems were likely flooding the cargo hold with harmful frequencies. What does she need? Zara asked gently, her voice somehow steady despite the chaos around them. Silence, the Catherian mother whispered. Electromagnetic silence, your people. They have the technology, shielding. But who would help us? We are nothing. Refugees fleeing our dying world. Another blast rocked the ship, and Zara could hear the groaning of metal under stress. The cargo bay doors were warped from the impact, their electromagnetic locks fused shut. They were trapped, and the ship was dying around them. But as Zara looked at the alien mother desperately trying to soothe her suffering child, she felt something ignite within her chest. It wasn't heroism or duty. It was something more fundamental. The same instinct that had driven her to study alien life forms, to understand rather than fear the unknown. I'll help you, she said firmly, surprising herself with her conviction. I'll find a way. The Catherian's eyes widened, hope flickering in their crystalline depths. Around them, the ship continued its death spiral. But in that moment, a bond formed between two mothers, one actual, one potential, united by the simple truth that some things transcended species boundaries. The desperate searched the stellar. Wanderer groaned like a dying beast as Zara Mikhailova worked frantically with the cargo bay's emergency toolkit. The ship's emergency lighting flickered ominously, casting dancing shadows across the twisted metal and scattered debris. Every few seconds, another explosion would shake the vessel, reminding them that time was running out. "My name is Lixa," the Cytherian mother said softly, her voice barely audible over the din of failing systems. "My daughter is Kith. She is my only remaining family." Zara paused in her work on the door controls to look at the alien child. Kith was small, even for a Cytherian infant, her translucent skin showing a network of delicate veins that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. But those patterns were erratic, chaotic, signs of severe distress. "The electromagnetic interference is getting worse," Zara observed, her xenobiology training helping her interpret the child's symptoms. "We need to get her to somewhere with proper shielding, but first we need to get out of this cargo bay." My door's manual override system was a maze of fused circuits and melted components. Zara had never been particularly mechanical, but desperation drove her to attempt repairs that would have challenged a trained engineer. Behind her, she could hear Lixa humming, a low, resonant sound that seemed to calm the distressed infant. "That's beautiful," Zara commented, still working on the door controls. "It is a song of my people," Lixa replied, her voice heavy with loss. "A lullaby that has been sung for thousands of years. I fear Kith may be the last to hear it." "Don't say that," Zara said firmly, finally managing to jury-rig a connection that brought the door controls back online. "We're going to get out of here, and we're going to find help." The cargo bay doors groaned open just as another explosion rocked the ship. Emergency lighting in the corridor beyond flickered on and off, revealing a scene of devastation. The ship's automated systems were failing one by one, and the sound of rushing air indicated multiple hull breaches. "This way," Zara said, helping Lixa to her feet. The Cytherian moved with the grace of her people, but Zara could see the exhaustion in her movements. "There's a maintenance shaft about 50 meters down this corridor. It leads to the upper decks, where the emergency pods are located." They made their way through the damaged ship, Lixa clutching Kith close to her chest while Zara cleared debris from their path. The baby's bioluminescent patterns were growing more erratic, and her chittering cries were becoming weaker. "She's fading," Lixa whispered, tears now visible in her compound eyes. "The radiation, it's too much for her developing nervous system." Zara stopped abruptly, struck by a sudden realization. "Wait. The medical bay. If there are any portable EM shielding units left, they'd be there. It's only one deck up. But the evacuation pods are 2 decks up and probably already launched," Zara interrupted. "Besides, even if we reach them, the pods don't have the kind of shielding Kith needs. The medical bay is our best bet." Lixa nodded, trusting this human stranger who had already shown more compassion than most of their own kind ever received from other species. Together, they climbed through the maintenance shaft, Zara leading the way through the ship's mechanical arteries. The medical bay was in chaos when they arrived. Equipment was scattered across the floor and several cabinets hung open, their contents spilled across the deck. But Dr. Hassan Okafor's emergency medical station was still intact, sealed, behind a reinforced barrier. "There," Zara pointed to a portable medical isolation unit. "That should provide the electromagnetic shielding Kith needs." She activated the unit, checking its power levels and calibrating its settings based on her knowledge of Cytherian physiology. The device hummed to life, creating a localized field of electromagnetic silence. "Place her inside," Zara instructed. Lixa hesitated for a moment, her maternal instincts warring with the need to trust this human. Finally, she gently placed Kith within the isolation unit. Almost immediately, the infant's bioluminescent patterns began to stabilize and her distressed chittering quieted to contented murmuring. "It's working," Lixa breathed, relief evident in her voice. But their celebration was short-lived. The ship lurched violently, and the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, but the message was clear. The stellar wanderer was in its final death throes. "We need to find another way off this ship," Zara said grimly, "and we need to take that medical unit with us." Through the medical bay's porthole, they could see the cold stars wheeling past as the ship tumbled through space. But in the distance, barely visible against the cosmic backdrop, were the running lights of the rescue vessels that had come to collect survivors. The question was, would they make it in time? Against all odds, the emergency power grid flickered like a dying candle as Chief Petty Officer James Reeves finished his final sweep of the Stellar Wanderer's upper decks. The grizzled veteran had served on a dozen different vessels over his 20-year career, but he'd never seen a ship die as violently as this one. The Vorthon raiders had been thorough in their destruction, leaving behind a floating tomb of twisted metal and shattered dreams. "That's the last of them, Chief," reported Technician First Class Maria Santos, her voice crackling through the comm system. "All escape pods have been launched. Ship's empty except for us." Reeves nodded grimly as he made his way toward the final evacuation pod. His job was simple: ensure no one was left behind, then get himself to safety. It was a job he'd done countless times before, but something nagged at him as he walked through the dying ship's corridors. A sound, faint but unmistakable. Voices coming from the direction of the medical bay. "Santos, did you check the medical section?" He called into his comm. "Negative, Chief. That section was marked as sealed due to structural damage. No one could have survived down there." But Reeves had survived 2 decades in space by trusting his instincts more than official reports. He changed course, heading toward the medical bay despite the protests of his subordinates over the comm. The scene that greeted him was unlike anything he'd expected. A young human woman with short auburn hair was frantically working to disconnect a portable medical unit from its power source, while nearby, an alien he'd never seen before cradled what appeared to be an infant. The alien's iridescent skin caught the emergency lighting, creating patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living water. "Hey," Reeves called out, causing both figures to turn toward him. "What are you doing here? The ship's been evacuated." "Thank God," the woman breathed, relief evident in her voice. "I'm Dr. Zara Mikhailova, xenobiologist. This is Lixa and her daughter Kith. We were trapped in the cargo bay when the attack started." Reeves's military training kicked in as he assessed the situation. The medical unit was clearly keeping the alien child alive, but it was also bulky and would complicate their evacuation. Standard procedure would be to leave non-essential equipment behind, but as he looked at the tiny alien infant, he found himself thinking of his own daughter back on Earth. "Can that thing run on battery power?" he asked, indicating the medical unit. "For maybe 30 minutes, Zara replied. "But Kith needs constant electromagnetic shielding. Without it, she'll die." Reeves made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life, not because it was wrong, but because it was so clearly right. "Then we take it with us." Santos prepped the last pod for 4 passengers and oversized equipment. "Chief, that's against protocol. The pod's weight limitations." "I'm changing the protocol," Reeves interrupted. "We don't leave anyone behind. That includes the baby." The journey to the escape pod was a nightmare of twisted corridors and failing systems. Reeves carried the medical unit while Zara helped Lixa navigate the debris-strewn passages. Behind them, the Stellar Wanderer continued its death spiral, chunks of hull plating breaking away to tumble into the void. "Chief, we've got a problem." Santos's voice crackled through the comm as they reached the pod bay. "The rescue ships are pulling back. Long-range sensors detected a second wave of Vorthon raiders heading this way. We've got maybe 10 minutes before they're forced to jump to hyperspace." Reeves felt his heart sink. The escape pod was designed for short-range evacuation, not extended travel through hostile space. If the rescue ships left without them, they'd be stranded in a tiny metal coffin, waiting for the Vorthons to find them. "Load up anyway," he ordered. "We'll figure something out." The escape pod was cramped under the best of circumstances, but with 4 occupants and the medical unit, it was nearly claustrophobic. Reeves ran through the pre-flight checklist with practiced efficiency, while Zara secured the medical unit, and Lixa held her daughter close. "Chief," Lixa said suddenly, her melodic voice carrying an unfamiliar note of urgency. "Your rescue ships. They may not detect us if we launch now." Our pod's signature will be lost among the debris field." "She's right," Zara added. "But what choice do we have?" Reeves stared at the launch controls, his mind racing through possibilities. The smart play was to wait, to try to signal the rescue ships and hope they'd risk another approach. But smart plays didn't always save lives. "Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith," he muttered, then slammed his fist down on the launch button. The escape pod shot away from the dying stellar wanderer like a bullet from a gun, its small engine straining against the gravitational pull of the nearby star. Behind them, the merchant vessel finally succumbed to its wounds, breaking apart in a spectacular display of fire and metal. But ahead of them, growing larger by the second, were the running lights of the rescue fleet. And somewhere in the distance, barely visible against the starfield, were the sleek shapes of approaching Vorthon raiders. The race was on, and 4 lives hung in the balance, including one tiny alien infant whose only crime was being born in a galaxy that had forgotten how to show mercy to the vulnerable. Reeves gripped the pod's control stick and pointed their nose toward the rescue ships, praying that humanity's reputation for stubborn determination would be enough to see them through. The impossible choice, the rescue ship, Horizon's Dawn, cut through space like a blade, its captain, Elena Vasquez, watching the tactical display with growing unease. The Vorthon raider fleet was closing fast, 12 ships against her modest rescue convoy of 4 vessels. The mathematics were brutally simple. Stay to search for survivors, and everyone dies. "Captain, we've recovered all escape pods except 1, reported Commander Zhang Wei, her first officer. "Long-range sensors show a single pod trajectory from the destroyed merchant vessel, but it's deep in the debris field. We'd need to move closer to the Vorthon intercept vector." Vasquez studied the holographic display, her weathered face grim. She'd been running rescue operations in the frontier sectors for 15 years, and she'd learned that sometimes the hardest decision was knowing when to save who you could rather than lose everyone trying to save them all. "How long until the raiders reach weapons range?" she asked. 17 minutes, Captain. Maybe 20 if we're lucky." "And how long to reach that escape pod?" Zhang hesitated. "Minimum 15 minutes, assuming we can navigate the debris field without major complications. Then we'd need time to dock and evacuate the survivors." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Vasquez had 237 rescued civilians aboard her ship, people who had already lost everything when the stellar wanderer was destroyed. Her duty was clear: protect the lives already saved, not risk them all for the possibility of saving a few more. "Captain," the communications officer called out suddenly, "I'm picking up a transmission from the missing pod. It's weak, but put it through." The voice that crackled through the speakers was rough, military precise. "This is Chief Petty, Officer Reeves to any rescue vessel. We have 4 souls aboard, including a critically injured alien infant, requesting immediate medical evacuation." Vasquez closed her eyes. 4 lives. 4 people who would die if she made the safe choice. But 237 who might die if she made the brave one. "Chief Reeves, this is Captain Vasquez, of the Horizon's Dawn. I'm afraid we cannot reach your position in time. Vorthon raiders are inbound and we must jump to hyperspace within the next 12 minutes. The silence that followed was heartbreaking. "Understood, Captain," Reeves finally replied, his voice steady despite the death sentence. "Take care of the others. Tell them we tried." But before Vasquez could respond, another voice cut through the static. Younger, female, desperate. "Captain, please. My name is Dr. Zara Mikhailova. I'm a xenobiologist and I'm traveling with a Catherian mother and her infant daughter. The child is dying. She needs medical treatment that only your ship can provide. I know you have impossible choices to make, but this baby, she's innocent. She's done nothing wrong except be born into a galaxy that's forgotten how to show mercy." Vasquez felt something twist in her chest. She looked around the bridge at her crew, men and women who had volunteered for rescue duty knowing it would put them in danger, people who had chosen to serve others rather than themselves. "Zhang," she said quietly, "what's our maximum safe acceleration?" Her first officer's eyes widened. "Captain, You're not seriously considering... Answer the question, Commander. Point 75. Gravities without risking structural damage to the civilian quarters. But Captain, even at maximum acceleration, we can't reach them and escape before the Vorthons arrive. Vasquez studied the tactical display again, her mind racing through possibilities. The Vorthon raiders were faster than her rescue ship, but they were also arrogant. They expected their prey to run, not fight. Helm, plot an intercept course for that escape pod. Maximum acceleration. Captain, Zhang protested, this is suicide. We can't outrun 12 Vorthon raiders. We're not going to outrun them, Vasquez replied grimly. We're going to outthink them. Communications. Patch me through to the other rescue ships in our convoy. The holographic display showed 3 other vessels. The Mercy's Hand, the Safe, Harbor, and the New Beginnings. Each carried rescued civilians, each commanded by a captain who had sworn the same oath she had. Attention all ships, Vasquez announced. I'm requesting volunteers for a rescue operation. We have 4 souls, including an infant, trapped in a debris field. The Vorthon raiders will reach us before we can complete a standard evacuation. I'm proposing we split the convoy. 3 ships jump to hyperspace with the civilians we've already rescued. 1 ship attempts the rescue and delays the raiders long enough for the others to escape. The responses came immediately. Mercy's Hand volunteering for rescue duty, Captain Rodriguez announced. Safe Harbor standing by for rescue operations, Captain Okafor added. New Beginnings ready to risk it all, Captain Thompson concluded. Vasquez felt a surge of pride in her fellow officers. This was why she'd chosen the rescue service, to work alongside people who understood that some things were worth risking everything for. Negative, she replied. I'm taking the Horizon's Dawn in alone. The rest of you jump to hyperspace with the civilians. If we succeed, we'll rendezvous at the Kepler station. If you don't, you'll have died doing what we all swore to do, Rodriguez interrupted. Save lives no matter the cost. As her fellow rescue ships began their preparation for hyperspace jump, Vasquez watched the tactical display show the approaching Vorthon raiders. 12 ships against 1. Impossible odds. But as she thought about the tiny alien infant fighting for life in that escape pod, she realized that some things were worth impossible odds. All hands, this is the captain, she announced over the ship's intercom. We're going to attempt a rescue under combat conditions. I won't lie to you, we probably won't survive this. But 4 people are going to die if we don't try, and I'd rather die trying to save them than live knowing I abandoned them. The bridge crew exchanged glances, then turned back to their stations with renewed determination. Helm, increase to maximum acceleration. Let's go save some lives. The light in the darkness. The escape pod trembled as Chief Petty Officer Reeves pushed its tiny engine beyond safe parameters. Through the porthole, he could see the rescue ship Horizon's Dawn growing larger, its hull scarred from countless operations in the frontier sectors. But behind it, cutting through space like sharks sensing blood, came the Vorthon raider fleet. They're actually coming for us, Zara whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. She cradled the portable medical unit closer, checking Kith's vital signs for the 100th time. The alien infant's bioluminescent patterns had stabilized within the electromagnetic shielding, but Zara knew their jury-rigged solution wouldn't last much longer. Lixa remained silent, her compound eyes reflecting the light from the approaching ships. In her arms she held hope and despair in equal measure. Hope that her daughter might live, despair that others might die to save them. Horizon's Dawn to escape pod. Captain Vasquez's voice crackled through the comm system. Prepare for emergency docking. We're going to make this fast. The rescue ship's docking bay opened like a mechanical flower, its internal lights cutting through the darkness of space. But even as Reeves maneuvered their pod toward safety, the Vorthon raiders were closing the distance with predatory grace. The docking sequence that should have taken 20 minutes was completed in 5, with magnetic clamps seizing the escape pod and dragging it into the Horizon's Dawn's protective belly. Before the bay had fully pressurized, Vasquez herself was there, her crew swarming around the pod to evacuate its occupants. Get them to Medical Bay 2, she ordered, then turned to Reeves. Chief, can you handle a weapon? Yes, ma'am. 20 years fleet service. Good. We're going to need every hand. She looked at Zara and Lixa, her expression softening. Don't worry. We'll get you home. But as they rushed through the ship's corridors, alarms began blaring. The Vorthan raiders had opened fire. Dr. Patricia Okafor was waiting in the medical bay, her dark hands steady despite the ship's shuddering under enemy fire. She'd served in combat zones before, patching up wounded soldiers while bullets flew overhead. But this was different. This was about saving a life, not just preserving one. Bring her here, she said, indicating the surgical unit. I've prepared an isolation chamber with full electromagnetic shielding. Zara helped transfer Kith from the portable unit to the medical bay's more sophisticated equipment. The infant's improvement was immediate. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted from chaotic distress to rhythmic calm, and her chittering cries quieted to contented murmuring. She's going to be fine, Dr. Okafor announced after running a full diagnostic. The radiation exposure caused some neural inflammation, but with proper treatment, she should make a full recovery. Lixa's compound eyes filled with tears. The first time Zara had seen a Catherian weep with joy rather than sorrow. But their celebration was interrupted by another violent shudder as the ship took a direct hit. The lights flickered and emergency power kicked in. All hands brace for impact, Captain Vasquez announced over the intercom. We're taking heavy fire, but we're not going down without a fight. On the bridge, Vasquez watched the tactical display with growing desperation. The Horizon's Dawn was a rescue ship, not a warship. Its shields were holding for now, but 12 Vorthan raiders were systematically pounding them into scrap metal. Captain, Commander Zhang reported, we've lost main engines. We're dead in space. Weapons? We've got 2 defensive batteries, but they won't last long against this kind of firepower. Vasquez nodded grimly. She'd known this was likely a suicide mission when she'd ordered the rescue, but as she thought about the alien child now safe in their medical bay, she felt a strange sense of peace. All hands, this is the captain, she announced. It's been an honor serving with you all. We saved 4 lives today. That's 4 more than we started with. But before the Vorthans could deliver the killing blow, space around them erupted in brilliant flashes of light. The cavalry had arrived. The UEF battleship Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace like an avenging angel, its massive guns all ready, trained on the Vorthan raiders. Behind it came a full battle group, cruisers, destroyers, and fighters spreading out in attack formation. This is Admiral Sarah Blackwood of the United Earth Fleet, a new voice announced over the comm channels. Vorthan vessels, you are ordered to withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Vorthan response was predictable. They opened fire on the newcomers, but they'd made a fatal mistake. They'd attacked a human rescue ship. The battle was swift and decisive. The UEF ships fought with the controlled fury of professionals who'd been personally insulted. Within minutes, the Vorthan raider fleet was either destroyed or fleeing back to whatever dark corner of space had spawned them. Horizon's Dawn, this is Admiral Blackwood. Are you in need of assistance? Captain Vasquez looked around her damaged bridge and smiled. We're banged up, Admiral, but we're alive. And we've got 4 very special passengers who owe their lives to some very brave people. Later, as the Horizon's Dawn limped toward the nearest starbase under escort, Zara found herself in the medical bay watching Lixa sing to her daughter. The alien lullaby was hauntingly beautiful, a melody that seemed to speak of home and hope and the enduring power of love. She's going to be fine, Dr. Okafor said, joining them. Full recovery expected within a few days. And after that? Zara asked. After that, we find them a new home, Captain Vasquez said, appearing in the doorway. The Catherian refugee settlement on Kepler Station has agreed to take them in. They'll be safe there. Lixa looked up from her daughter, her compound eyes reflecting the medical bay's soft lighting. Thank you, she said simply. All of you. You risked everything for strangers. Not strangers, Vasquez corrected gently. Family, that's what we are out here in the dark, all of us just trying to make it home safely. As the ship continued its journey through the star-filled void, Zara realized that sometimes the greatest victories weren't won through force or strategy. but through the simple act of refusing to abandon hope. They'd saved one small life today, but in doing so, they'd proved something important about what it meant to be human. In a galaxy that often seemed cold and unforgiving, they'd chosen to be the light in the darkness. And sometimes, that light was enough to guide everyone home. The end.